With stock image websites, it can be possible to turn a hard drive full of digital art into a regular income stream. Something you once thought of as just a hobby could actually be earning you royalties, and your work could be viewed by people all over the world in publications and other types of media. In this tutorial, I'll show you how easy it is to get started selling your images online. First, I'll give you an overview of how artists sell stock art. An artist uploads their work to a website, much like you would share something on social media. But rather than adding some emojis and clicking post, they need to describe the image and keyword it to help customers find it. If a customer buys that image, they get a royalty-free license to use the image commercially for a specific duration with various terms. And the creator of the image gets a one-time royalty per download. So you could think of it as, rather than posting an image to get likes and shares, you're getting dollars and exposures in print and other types of media. The hardest part of selling art online is building up a portfolio of images. Fortunately, if you've been making digital art for some time, you probably already have a collection of images to choose from. If you don't have a collection of images, you're getting too far ahead of yourself. By taking some time to build up a portfolio, you will improve your illustration skills and create a body of work that can be sold. A lot of new artists draw fan art or characters created by other artists, but you can't sell that, so I would focus on drawing images from life or create your own characters. Try to locate your best images with the most potential for sale. Many stock agencies will ask you to submit samples to be approved as a contributor, so I'd select your top 5 and then set them aside for that. We'll get into the approval process later in this video. When selecting images to sell, rather than choosing your most detailed image or the one that got the most likes, it may be helpful to think about who is buying stock art and why. There are news agencies and writers who create articles the day of an event. There are small business owners looking for graphics for their businesses. And there are designers who are sourcing graphics for their projects. These are a few of the demographics who may be interested in your work, so choose images through their eyes. Which of your images would be the most useful to help them make money or accomplish their goals? People are not buying stock art like they do when they are collecting fine art, so you really have to try to let go of that mentality. There are tons of stock image websites to choose from. I recommend these top 5, which I use currently: Adobe Stock, Shutterstock, Dreamstime, Big Stock Photo, and Deposit Photos. I've found most of the other agencies out there don't generate enough sales to justify maintaining an account. At one point, I had been using maybe a dozen different websites, but only a few actually earned income. Unless you want to, don't agree to be exclusive to any one agency. You can license your work anywhere you want. There are a couple of advantages to exclusivity. First, some agencies will offer you a higher commission per sale. And second, you'll have fewer images to submit and manage. If you have hundreds of images, you may not want to upload each of them to 5 different websites. The main con to being exclusive is that you could be missing out on revenue if your images happen to sell more easily elsewhere. I would also do your research on these agencies because they're going to ask for payment and tax information that you shouldn't trust to just anyone. In retrospect, it would have been wise to focus my efforts on only 1 or 2 websites rather than a dozen, but it took evaluating several websites to see which ones worked. Each agency has different standards, but generally, if your images are good quality and have commercial value, you should have no trouble getting your application and images approved. Good quality images are high resolution and not overly compressed. Adobe Stock asks for JPEG images that are at least 4 megapixels, which means it must contain at least 4 million pixels. Multiply the width by the height and that will give you the total megapixels. In digital art terms, artwork that is 1920 by 1080 or even 2560 by 1440 is not going to be large enough. Simply enlarging your artwork using Photoshop's Preserve Details 2.0 or Adobe Super Resolution might suffice to bump the image up without any noticeable reduction in quality. But if the enlargement is obvious enough, then your image will probably be rejected. For the best results, start your artwork large to begin with. An image can also be too big, so Adobe Stock asks that you only upload files smaller than 100 megapixels with a max file size of 45 megabytes. If you have a lot of images you need to convert to JPEG or apply other edits to, I would recommend using a batch process like Image Processor in Photoshop to save yourself a lot of time. Poor quality images are too small with a resolution that is too low. Some other examples are images that are too bright or too dark, or images that have a poor composition. Although Adobe Stock asks for JPEG images, many websites will accept higher quality formats than that. It's important to note that saving a JPEG file as a JPEG multiple times will degrade a file by overcompressing it. When saving as JPEG, choose the highest quality options. Always save your original artwork as TIFF, PNG, PSD, or your art software's native file format. Then save copies as a JPEG for uploading to stock websites. If you're working in vector, there will be different requirements. Value is a lot more subjective and will vary from agency to agency, but is basically defined as an image's potential for commercial use. Almost any image can be considered valuable if put into a proper context, so it's up to you to substantiate your concept with the composition, title, description, and keywords. I have struggled to get images approved that I put dozens of hours into, while simultaneously selling photoshopped images of wood pallets on the ground, shot with a below-average camera. It's really hard to predict if your images will be approved or rejected. It's definitely the most frustrating part of this whole endeavor. Let's start with what will likely be rejected. First, don't let anything like recognizable people, logos, other artists' artwork, sculptures, architecture, or anything else that might be copyrighted by another party into your composition. This is almost guaranteed to get your submission rejected. If you paint portraits of people, you will have to get a signed model release to use their likeness. Releases may even be required for paintings of property, for example, someone's house. I've had agencies go as far as to ask for a signed property release for every single piece of my artwork. I think this was to prevent people from downloading other people's art and selling it as stock images. I get that, but it really made it difficult to submit images on that particular website. The second reason an image might be rejected is if the image lacks an overall context. If an image is difficult to describe or categorize, then it will be difficult to find in search. For example, abstract art, or maybe fantasy creatures not based on mythology. How are you going to effectively describe and keyword that? And how are people going to find your work in a search? That's not to say people aren't looking for and buying abstract art, but it's just harder to get it approved if it's not going to easily sell. I have been able to successfully use descriptions and keywords to effectively communicate a theme or message, but that doesn't always work. So what kind of images are more likely to be approved? Images that are commercial in nature and highly contextual are the best. There are so many examples of subjects that I don't think it's worth going into. Rather, do some keyword research to see what people are searching for and pick out the subjects that interest you. Shutterstock has a page that shows you popular keyword searches and top images sold. For example, if you like to paint people or characters, then customers are probably searching for situations like work, recreation, and relationships. If you paint still life, restaurants and other food-related industries are always looking for images of food and produce. And contextual landscapes are very versatile and are attractive to all sorts of projects. For example, a beach scene might appeal to a travel agency. If you're more of a vector artist, you have a huge advantage because people can often show only vector art results. And I don't need to tell you why someone would prefer vector art. You may want to focus more on logos and other simple graphics that are commonly used. Regardless of what sort of art you like to make, the more contextual the image, the better. If your image tells a story that designers are frequently searching for, then your image will be more likely to surface. And if you can find those niches of images that are highly searched for but not very competitive, then you are a lot more likely to generate sales. Most stock image websites are going to be dominated by photography, so your images will have to compete with photos more than other art. It's your job as an artist to do what a photographer cannot do. Otherwise, if you're selling photorealistic paintings of bananas, why would anyone choose your painting over a photo if they look basically the same printed in a grocery ad? Once an agency has approved your work, upload your top 5 images to start with, and then add the rest later once you're familiar with the submission process. Each time you submit an image, it will have to be approved by the agency. This could take several days or longer. When uploading images, you will need to provide information about each image. A good description and keywords are almost more important than the image itself. An accurate description allows you to put your image into a context. Keywords will help people find your image in a search. For example, a painting of a leaf could be marketed as nature, recycling, landscaping, etc. Get creative and try to imagine who would use that image and for what purpose. If you have Adobe Bridge or a way to enter metadata into your file, add your description and keywords directly to the file before uploading. If supported by the stock agency, metadata may save you from having to retype the information multiple times when submitting to several agencies. You will also want to look for the options which specify how each image can be licensed. I suggest taking advantage of some of the advanced options for licensing. For example, a sale of a standard license image may only earn you 25 cents, but an extended license earns you $75 because the customer can do more with the image. Some agencies will even allow you to set a price to sell your image copyright and all. Be careful with this one because once you sell the image, someone else owns it and can resell it. An example of a scenario where you may want to do this is when a customer wants to buy a logo for their business that no one else can use. If you're wanting to sell the rights to your images, a better option may be selling NFTs. The advantage to selling an NFT is that you can sell the rights to your image while still earning royalties from future sales. I tend to think that image authentication and proof of ownership of stock art are probably going to be powered by the blockchain eventually anyway, so it would be good to familiarize yourself with NFTs and how they work. I have a few videos about NFTs if you want to learn more. Once all of your images are submitted, hang tight and wait for the agency to approve your work. This is a good time to fill out your personal profile and check out all the features the agency has to offer. If your images are rejected, try a different agency. Some may take what others will not. If you're always getting rejected, you may need to build a better portfolio or improve your skills and try again. Once your images have been approved and are online, you may begin to see downloads. The quantity and quality of images you have available will dictate how often your work gets purchased. I suggest adding as many quality images as possible and make sure you keyword them well. Don't just fill up your portfolio with a bunch of low-quality content or repetitive images. That will only create clutter and work that will never result in sales. When an image sells, try to figure out why it sold. If you can use this information to better keyword and describe your images, do it. And at the very least, your sold images will point you in the direction of what you should be creating more of. But don't expect that you're going to make a ton of money selling stock art. That's mainly because the revenue per sale is very low, so even daily sales don't add up to much. Given I don't submit images very often, nor am I as active as I used to be, but I only earn a few $100s every year from the images I'm selling. I suppose if I updated my portfolio more often and resumed creating new commercial art, I'd generate more sales, but I find the return on investment to be too little. However, selling your work as stock imagery is not all about money. It feels really good to run across some of your work being used. Though it's not easy to locate, I've found my work in publications in print and on the web. I've even randomly discovered my stock artwork on the front window of a lawyer's office near downtown Seattle. I can't even give you an idea of how many people saw my work in that location. Now that I have a YouTube channel, it hardly feels like anyone saw my work on that window, but that was an exciting moment in my career. In the earlier part of my career, I was a starving artist, but those low returns got me through some tough times and were better than nothing. It was food or part of rent that I might not have had. But most importantly, the experience taught me that I had control over how I make money and that I don't have to be someone's employee to earn income. Selling stock art is really the foundation of how I got started making money online. And in a sense, getting approved, selling some images, and then seeing those images being used made me feel validated as an artist. You really can't doubt your ability at that point. So if you're looking for an easy test of your artistic skill, that's one way to get an answer. People will like or share anything to be supportive, but no one is going to buy and publish something they don't genuinely like. But even if you get rejected, that doesn't mean you should give up. Stock art is not for everyone or every art style. There may be other ways to sell your art that can be more effective for you. You really don't have much to lose by trying other than a bit of time. And even if you get approved and your art doesn't sell, many of these stock websites rank and search fairly well. So that on its own may get more people to see your work. I'd say it's worth it to give selling stock art a try if you're a new artist looking for exposure or to build a reputation. If you're already making a living as a full-time artist and you have plenty of exposure, then there are better ways to use your time and sell your art. Check out my passive income video to learn more. Now let's say you have been getting some regular sales. What can you do to get more? First, upload new images frequently. Some agencies feature newly uploaded work on the main page or in a specialized search query. Second, I would recommend keeping a pulse on what other creators are selling. Are there any current trends that are attracting a lot of customers? And third, watch the news. It's depressing, I know. But if you can publish artwork about a current event faster than your competitors, you will almost certainly be guaranteed sales because there are writers looking for those images without getting many, if any, results. While earning money can be easy, getting paid may not be. Many stock image websites have a minimum payment threshold, so you may not ever be able to reach that to get the little money you earned. Let's say the minimum is $50 and you've only earned $10 a year. That's going to be a long wait for $50 considering how many hours you may have invested to make that money. It may take you a few months or years to accumulate enough money to get paid out, but when you do, it is typically through check, PayPal, or another payment service. And don't forget about paying taxes. If you live in the US, royalties are considered taxable income. You're free to earn money, but you'll have to provide tax info to get paid. Just complete a simple form that you download as a PDF and upload it to the stock image agency. They will send you the necessary tax forms you'll need each year, or you may have to download the forms digitally. There may also be local or state taxes on royalties specifically, or maybe even digital income. I'm no tax expert, so consult a professional if you have any questions. What if things are not going as expected? Can you stop selling your work on these websites? Yes, I've closed quite a few accounts because they just weren't earning anything. The process varies, but once you close your account, they should pay you any unpaid earnings and remove your images from the search. If you just want to remove individual images, you can do that, but the licenses you sold will remain valid through the terms you agreed to. No future licenses will be sold. Another consideration about selling stock art is whether it puts your work at risk of theft. Absolutely. By even showing your digital art online, you have opened yourself up to theft. But unlike social media companies who may not legally enforce copyright infringement on your behalf, a stock image agency may be entitled to. So that means if you did run across an image of your work with a stock image watermark on it, the agency would deal with the matter. So in that respect, your artwork is more protected by being associated with a stock image agency than without it. That's all for this video. I hope you're well on your way to collecting royalties from your digital art library. Thanks for watching and stay creative.